Welcome in, everybody. So good to be in this space with you. So, today we are going to be talking about kindness versus self abandonment. And I'm so sorry for those of you who may have been waiting for the 2 o'clock, but somebody was mowing their grass next to me and I couldn't hear anything, so I had to push it out. So, I do appreciate your patience and understanding. Anywho, let's get into it. So, people pleasing or self abandonment versus kindness. In today's world, kindness seems to be like a virtue that everybody is striving for. However, there seems to be some overlap with what we believe kindness looks like and what self abandonment actually is, right? And when we lean into those behaviors that are more on the edge of self abandonment, we internalize a sense of lack of self worth. So it's so important to get crystal clear about showing up for ourselves versus showing up for others and how we can kind of create a cohesive enmeshment of meeting both of those needs, right? So that we're not abandoning ourselves and we're not abandoning other people either. Okay. So I've kind of identified like 7 behaviors that are classified as kindness, but are actually leaning more towards self abandonment. So that's what we're going to get into today. I will be looking down at my notes occasionally. So just so you are aware, just helps me stay on track. So, Number 1, suppressing our opinions or emotions to avoid conflict. So this can be classified as people pleasing, right? When we're in a situation where somebody else has a differing opinion, we can feel the urge to just agree with them or to not rock the boat per se. However, that's actually preventing us emotional experiencing emotional intimacy with another person. Okay, we're literally pushing our true selves to the background and pretending to be somebody else. So this is people pleasing, this is self-abandonment, okay? And over time, if we continue this sort of behavior, then our lack of self-worth will only grow, right? Because when we're in a place of self-respect, we are respecting self. We're respecting our opinions, our emotions, and we classify them as important, right? And we understand that everybody's different. We don't need to be exactly the same as somebody else to respect them or to appreciate them. We're not afraid that we're going to be rejected because we have a differing opinion. So, expressing our true emotions is actually a form of self respect. We can lean into different tools like I statements and nonviolent communication and things of that nature if it's really important to us to communicate in a kind way. In this way, we are actually showing up for self and we're showing up for other at the same time. We're meeting both needs equally. So, let's see. Number 2, agreeing with toxic behavior to keep the peace. This is a huge form of self abandonment. While we can feel a little bit apprehensive about calling somebody's behavior out or calling it toxic, when we suppress our own emotions, we are self abandoning, right? So, this often happens in an attempt to protect others from discomfort. Okay, we can learn this from childhood conditioning where maybe we had to walk on eggshells around our parents or attempt to keep other people happy so that we didn't get in trouble, things of that nature. But while you might be thinking it's kinder to give in, compromising is actually the solution here, okay? Because we can ask for what we need, and actually the only way for us to get what we need is to ask for it. So if we're in an experience where somebody is um, expressing like dysfunctional or toxic behavior, we're allowed to say, hey, if you continue to act in this manner, then I will have to leave the situation, right? We can't explicitly ask somebody else to change. Although, if they care about us, they may want to change. But we can say that this behavior is not okay with me, and I will remove myself from the situation. And that's what showing up for self looks like. And that's respect on both ends. It's not saying you need to change, but it's saying if you don't, then I'll leave, because we can only control our own behavior, right? And that's how we start to set a standard for what we'll accept in our life. And that's how we grow our sense of worth, our sense of self respect, right? By deciding what it is that we will allow and that we won't allow in our life. And that's kindness for both parties, right? So, number three, pretending everything is fine when it's not. Again, this is about being in touch with your emotional world and feeling comfortable expressing yourself. This is a form of self respect. When we pretend things are fine, even though we're having an emotional experience, we are abandoning self. We're not showing up for what's happening on the inside, right? So we may be thinking that we don't want to burden anyone, or maybe we're afraid that they won't show up for us. Um, but masking our true emotions and acting as though nothing is wrong is emotional neglect, no matter what the reason is. However, if we are practicing these types of behaviors, then it's really our responsibility to look underneath them and find out what is going on. What's the fear there? Where did it come from? I actually dive really deeply into this process, what in which I call it the belief process. In one of my first courses ever, you can find it in my website link um, in the description below. But we get into what is triggering us? Why is it triggering us? Where did it come from? And how do we change it? So it's our responsibility to understand what's happening in our own emotional world. It's our responsibility to speak up about what's happening in our own emotional world, right? Because when we don't, we are literally leaning into self abandonment, into disrespect of self, right? The problem with having behaviors like this is the world is a reflection of our inner world. The external world is a reflection of our inner world. So when we are practicing behaviors that are disrespectful to self, we tend to attract people who are also disrespectful to self, because it's actually a gift, honestly. It's really a gift. It's a gift of awareness, because how else would we know what's going on internally if it wasn't being mirrored back to us externally? Okay, so in this gift of the mirror, we're able to become super aware about what's happening internally so that we can change it and begin to reflect a different reality back to us. So, let's see. Next, excuse me. I'm so sorry. My nose is itchy. Number four. Excuse me. Just let me take a little sippy of my tea right now. So, number four, giving in to family pressure and outdated traditions. This is also a form of self abandonment. While we may think it's kind to just go along with the norm, the social norm, the family norm, the cultural expectation, if we don't agree with it, then we're actually abandoning self. We're abandoning what our internal world is telling us is our truth, right? And while we want to make our family happy, we can also pose different ways to move forward, right? We don't always have to do things the way that they were done just because that it's the way that they were done. And if we don't speak up, then how will things ever change, right? So, sacrificing our own happiness and our own comfort to make somebody else happy and comfortable is self abandonment. Okay. I really want you to understand that kindness is being able to meet our needs and somebody else's needs, right? It may be having some understanding and empathy, but also like having that understanding and empathy for ourselves too. Self abandonment is when your needs are completely disregarded and somebody else's needs and wants and desires are at the forefront, and that's all that matters. So we really want to reach this like middle space where their needs matter and our needs matter, right? We want to be in a place of respect for all parties involved. And really, respecting self first and foremost is where that respect for others is born, anyways. When we're people pleasing and self abandoning, although externally we may be doing what the other person wants us to do, internally we're generally like generating resentment and anger, and the feelings internally aren't really aligned with our external behaviors. So while we say we're being kind, internally there's a lot of negative emotions stirring, right? And is that really the kind thing to like hold animosity and anger and resentment towards someone? Or is the kind thing to express how you're really feeling and try to meet a mutual middle ground, right? And attempt to do some mutual need meeting. That's really the kind thing if you think about it in that way. So let's see where I was. I think five. So, number five, sacrificing your mental and emotional well being for others. So, while this might seem like an act of kindness, it's not, okay? Putting someone else's needs over your own is self abandonment. This can look like, getting an invitation to go to an event with a friend when you're really needing downtime, and maybe you would prefer to like go to a yoga class or just watch a movie, and but saying yes because you don't want to upset your friend. So this is self-abandonment. This is not showing up for self. And while you may think that it's kindness, it's not kindness. It's literally the opposite of kindness, okay? Honesty equals kindness. Showing up for self and other equals kindness. Self abandonment equals disrespect of self, right? And our needs, your needs, are just as important as somebody else's. And when we don't honor our needs, we're our levels of burnout and anxiety and resentment, like I said previously, are just growing. And that is not the kind thing. So, taking care of yourself allows you to better support other people too. Like when we can identify our own emotions and our own needs, it's easier for us to move into that space of empathy, um, and accept other people's wants and needs and desires and emotions and things like that. It all starts with self. So, number six, um, maintaining the illusion of being the good or reliable one, right? So people pleasers strive to be seen as the good or reliable one, which is kind of why I loved that this video needed to be pushed out, because it gives me a chance to practice imperfection, right? I'm allowed to show up imperfectly. I also taught a class today where I did not have time to send out a pre email. However, I knew that the Zoom link that they needed was also in the course materials, and they were aware of that. So instead of like trying to rush around and skip my breakfast and skip my exercising, I didn't send that email, and that's okay. And I actually had somebody join the course a little bit late and say, "Oh, I didn't see the email come through." But I knew that the Zoom link was in the course. So I went back to the course and found it. And look at that. I empowered them to be able to find the information on their own while meeting my own needs. Okay. I could have showed up to that course hungry, and not have worked out and not been on my best, showing up as my best self in order to go out of my way to send an email that I didn't have time to send. But no, I decided that I'm going to show up for self, and I'm going to show up as my best self because of that. So, while being dependable can be a positive trait, and maybe we don't want to, break promises to self or other all the time, occasionally it's okay to show up as not the most dependable person in the whole world. You know what I mean? Things happen. We're human. We're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to show up imperfectly occasionally. So, when taken to the extreme of needing to show up perfectly all the time, really what's happening is that's a mask. It's a mask that we're wearing in order to feel worthy. I am worthy just because I exist. You are worthy just because you exist. Okay? It's not because we're good or kind. It's just inherent. We are worthy because we exist. Do you understand that? Let me know below if you understand that. Claim it. Because constantly striving to be the person that other people can count on, even at the expense of our own needs, leads to exhaustion and burnout and self abandonment, right? And we already talked about the cost of self abandonment. It's reflected in our reality as attracting people who will also abandon us, who also cannot meet our needs, who also do not show up for us. So it all starts with self. It's our responsibility to show up for self, and then that is reflected back to us. So it all starts with self. And then last but not least, number 7, prioritizing others' comfort over your own. So this can show up as maybe, what comes to mind is I was at an event previously for, like a tantra event, right? And when I sat down into my place, I noticed that the temperature was cold. So immediately I raised my hand and I asked, "Hey, is there any way we can get the temp turned up some? I'm a little bit cold." I asked for my need to be met. And this facilitator was over the moon ecstatic because he was talking about sovereignty, and he ended up using my question, my expression of a need that I needed met as an example of sovereignty, right? Because I was prioritizing my comfort over anyone else's. And honestly, a few of the other people in the room ended up agreeing with me and saying, "Hey, yeah, it is cold." And we asked everyone before we turned the air up, you know? So it's not like, um, all or nothing here. It's not like, say, I was the only one cold and everybody else was hot, so we turned the air off. No, everyone else ended up kind of agreeing with me. And if I didn't speak up, everyone in the whole room would have been cold for the whole event. So prioritizing others' comfort over my own is a form of self abandonment, of people pleasing. So it may seem natural to want to avoid conflict by neglecting our own comfort or emotional needs, but it's really not helping us. It's not helping us become the person that we want to be. It's not helping us attract the people into our life that we want to attract. It's not helping us on any level. So really learning to ask for what we need and showing up for self and listening to our emotional experience and what's going on and learning to express that in the most healthy way possible. That's really what self-respect is about. That's really what embodying self-worth looks like, is believing that our needs matter and so do yours. Your needs matter too. And we can find a way to mutually need meet, right? And that's what healthy relationship is about. First, healthy relationship with self, which extends to healthy relationship with other. So, while kindness is undeniably a beautiful, valuable trait, it's important to recognize when acts of kindness are actually acts of self abandonment, right? It's important to know when they're rooted in people pleasing and when we're not actually being our most authentic self and when we're not actually being intimate and allowing others to see into us, intimacy, into me see, right? So if I'm actually overriding what's really going on within me and pushing that aside so that I'm not rocking the boat or getting rejected or, causing any ruckus or anything like that, then I'm not actually being honest with other people. I'm not actually being honest with self, and I'm not actually cultivating a healthy relationship. So it is so important to know when we're actually self abandoning and how we can begin to start choosing self and stepping into that more empowered place so that our reality can reflect that empowerment back to us. And I just want to let you know that I am going to be holding a 30-day container starting in July of 2026. The link is in the description below. It's called Savagely Sovereign, right? This is all about stepping into our power, asking for what we need, identifying what we need, and then expressing it, right? But it's also about mutual need needing, like I talked about. This isn't about becoming harder or becoming selfish. It's just about becoming really, really, really honest and feeling safe enough to express that honesty and cultivating that real intimacy that we desire, that intimacy that fulfills us, right? Because we can't do that when we're not being authentic and when we're not being real. So I want that for you. I want you to have the most juicy, beautiful, sovereign relationships. I want you to feel so worthy in your needs. I want you to feel worthy just because you exist, not because of what you do for people, not because of how kind you are, but just because you exist. So if that sounds like something that you would like to be involved in, it's going to be a 30-day audacity immersion with practices, embodiment practices every day, a group container so that you'll have support through the process, 3 live calls, transmissions. We're going to get into like self abandonment wounding and then beliefs that we need to adopt, all the things. It will be lifetime access. So if you're watching this video a few years from now, you can still access it below. You'll still get all the benefits. Um, and I really hope to see you there because I know how it is. I am a recovered people pleaser and I know what it feels like to be scared to express myself and to be scared to ask for what I need. And I also know what it feels like to be wholly in my worth era. And I want that for you. So, I love you so much, and I hope to see you in the next one or in the container. Like I said, links below. Love you so much. See ya.